Is your day today? If you are joining me live, drop in the chat and let me know what your day is like. Are you having a great day? Are you having a not so great day? The winter blues got you down. I know it's been several snowy, gloomy days back to back here in Wisconsin where I live. Maybe you're somewhere sunny. Maybe it's nice where you are. Wherever you are in the world, I'd like to welcome you to today's live stream and invite you in to join me for this next little while as I teach and train on some topics that truly will help you make rapid, powerful shifts in your business and your sales results so that you can start making more sales. Because more sales equals more lives changed, more transformation, you living and fulfilling your purpose, giving your team the opportunity to expand their gifts as you work with more people, and those lives that are changed on the other side because they're getting the support that they need. And that's really what turning your sales around is. Yeah. Is it more money in the bank? Yeah. Does it improve your business? Sure. Turning your sales around is also being able to receive more people, more interest, more attention into your business. That's what turning your sales around is. Okay. If you're on the replay, let me know you're watching the replay. I'd love to know that you're here and that you're tuning in and that you came and stopped by. It is so valuable to me that you would give me some of your attention today. And my intention is to give you some value and to give you some concepts and ideas and things that open up your mind and allow you to make some changes, because it is the perfect time. It's never too late. It's never too soon to get on track with your sales results. Okay. So I want to start out today by asking you a couple questions. Is it okay if I ask you some questions? Let me know in the chat if it's okay, or give me a thumbs up. Let me know if it's okay. I want to ask you some questions. First question I want to ask you is, are you using outdated sales techniques in your sales process, in your sales calls, in your messaging with prospects? Are you? You may not know. You may not know if you're using outdated techniques, or you may say, oh yeah, Celia, I totally know. But maybe you don't know if you are, okay? And a way that you can gauge whether you are or not is to go back to the source of where you got the information from. Now, you may not be able to do that. You may not be able to go back to the source of where you got the information from because, okay, Celia, I got it from a business coach. Okay, Celia, I got it from a free PDF that I downloaded on the internet. I got it from this course I took a year ago. Okay, that's not the source though, right? Because that information had to come from somewhere originally, okay? So this sets up a conversation that we're gonna have on this live stream today, but thinking about, am I using outdated techniques in my sales process? Okay, that's the first question. The second one is, are you using hypey, pushy language with your prospects? Hey, so-and-so, just thought of you. I have this thing going on. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay, I've used hypey, pushy sales language. I'm going to raise my hand. I will admit that I have done that. And there's a place for it. There are buyers who totally respond to that kind of language, okay? But let's say that in your buyer pool of 100% of your buyers that are in your network right now, that 5%, 10% will respond to that type of hypey, pushy language. Hey, come on, I got this thing. Come on, join me. Oh, you don't want to miss out, FOMO, right? Let's say that only a percentage of your buyers will respond to that, 10%, 5%. What happens to the other 90 or 95% of your buyer pool if they're not responding to the language that you're using with them and how you're approaching them and how you're talking to them? Okay. So that's the second question. Am I using hypey, pushy language with my prospects? That could be in any stage of the sales process. But let's just say it's for your outreach. I was just messaging with a colleague right before I got into this Zoom, Restream, live stream, whatever it's called, I was just messaging with a colleague and we were talking about that. Like, how are you approaching people in your outreach? Are you inviting them in, or are you saying, dangling the carrot, here, take it or leave it. It's here for you if you want it, but yeah, okay. And that, think about dating. Like, if you're dating someone or you're approaching someone to go on a date and you're like, hey, I got Tuesday night free, you up for something? And if they're more of a sensitive person, or they've got a lot on their plate, or a number of things are going on in their life, that approach may not appeal to them. So you want to think about, am I speaking to people in a way that appeals to them and attracts them in, or am I pushing them away? Okay. Third question, how empathetic are you to your prospects' needs? Now, obviously, I'm asking you really deep questions right now. These aren't questions that you can just come up with a short answer to, but I've got you thinking. The wheels should be turning right now. How empathetic are you to your prospects' needs? And I'm going to give you a hint. Your responses to number 1 and number 2 will determine your answer to the third question of your level of empathy, your level of compassion, your level of understanding with your prospects. How empathetic are you to their needs? Because I'm going to tell you, if you're using the hypey pushy language, take it or leave it, come and get it. It's Tuesday, you got to be there or not. That doesn't have much empathy. Outdated sales techniques. Hey, let's do that. We got this thing. Oh, come on, you could buy it. Oh, you have a $500 discount. You can use it right now, or it will self-destruct. Okay, maybe on a sales page that might work, but in a consultative call, a one-on-one strategy call where you're selling something for thousands of dollars, the $500 self-destructing bonus technique is probably outdated, unless you're talking to that like 1% of your audience that responds to that. Okay, so that will determine 1 and 2 will determine number 3. On my page, I've got ABC. Okay, and my last question for you. Let me know if you're tracking me here. If you're tuning in, like, say, I've got this, Celia, I'm thinking, or oh my gosh, like this is just blowing my mind, or something else. Let me know in the chat, in the comments, what's opening up for you. Last question. How is your level of empathy coming across in your sales conversation specifically? Your level of compassion, your level of empathy, and your level of understanding with your prospects. How is that coming across? Okay, because that's going to tell you, you can tell specifically by your close rate, by how people are warming up to you and opening up to you. Are they getting on the call and then they're like running out the door? Or do they feel like, oh my gosh, I talked with Celia, or I talked with Celia's sales reps, and wow, I feel so seen and understood and recognized and heard more than anybody I've talked to this whole year. Like, I feel like it's such a safe space. You'll know by your close rate and the relationships that you have with your customers once they purchase, because what happens in the sales process and that experience and that buying journey up front sets up the whole relationship for the customer. And being in sales for my entire business, my entire career, I've always had a sales role to some degree. When I was working in a department store part-time in college, when I was waitressing in college, and I was upselling the drinks and upselling the appetizers and all of that fun stuff, and then doing sales on selling my own packages and programs, and selling for my clients, and selling for events, and all of those things. And so in doing a lot of selling, you can see the results and the empathy and what's coming across and how that relationship is on the other side based on what happens through the sales process. Okay, so those are your questions that you can contemplate with. So it's number 1, are you using outdated sales techniques on your sales calls? Number 2, are you using pushy, hypey language with your prospects? That can be in any journey of the sales conversation. Number 3, how empathetic are you to your prospects' needs? And number 4, is your level of empathy coming across in your sales conversations. Okay. So now we're going to get into the actions because you're probably like, we've got great questions here. I want the actions. And so when we look at the actions to take, we also want to look at your foundation. Okay. A lot of times when you're coming to do a sales training or learn something for sales, your mind immediately goes to, how can I reach more customers? What tip that can they do? What band-aid can I get? What quick fix can I get to get out there and get on the phone and and close more deals and all of that stuff. And so what we want to do is we want to just take a step back and take a look under the hood and pull back the curtain to see what's going on, so that when we go and we take those actions and we are reaching out to prospects and we're having conversations, that we're doing it in an effective way that increases conversion rates. And this is for CEO driven sales. This is also for your sales team. So if you have a sales team, if you have reps working for you, this applies to them just as much as it does to CEO driven sales initiatives. Okay. So some of you may be new to me. In case we haven't met, I am Celia Faye Meisel, and I'm the creator of The More Method. And I work with entrepreneur CEOs and their sales teams and their sales initiatives to help them increase their conversions. Sales calls, we can increase your conversion rate by anywhere from 40 to 80%. And for your whole sales process, we can drive conversions up from 12% and beyond, because just fixing your sales process and just fixing languages and nuances, languaging and nuances alone have such a dramatic impact on your close rate. Okay, so the actions that you want to take, what do you want to do? Now, this doesn't have to take a long time. However, questions may arise and things may come up as you do this process, just because you can't see. My coach always says, like, if you're playing the game, you can't see the sidelines. You can't see what the fans see, okay? So when you're in the game, playing the game, trying to do a self-assessment and a self-audit can be challenging, but it doesn't have to take a lot of time, okay? But this is a key. If you're dealing with sales problems right now and your close rate isn't what you want it to be, and prospects are running in the other direction, or you have a high volume of leads that are coming in and you're paying a lot of money for ads, but the conversions just aren't there. There are challenges with your sales process. And rather than me giving you the whole thing of like the 1,000,001 sales problems that you can address, let's start with some fundamental foundational basics. Okay. So the first one is looking at your actual sales script. What are you using to hold sales calls? Okay, what are you using? Now, I know a lot of people that they use a script that they got from a coach. They use scripts that they got from free PDFs online. They may have a script that they made up themselves. Maybe they were in another industry that they sold and they took that script and they modified it. Maybe you've got different, maybe you read sales books, right? So you've got like some like spin selling in there, and you've got some, different, gap selling in there, and flip the script. And if you geek out on sales, like maybe you're like trying all these like little techniques, and you've learned this like objections handling model, and you've got that in there. And so you've got this script that's really like a Frankenstein. And usually that's what ends up happening is you have a script that you got from a coach, that you got from a program. And so you've just used that. And then you've like picked up little techniques along the way and you've thrown those in there. And so you've got this kind of like Frankenstein, or what we also call piecemealed sales script. So if that's the case, okay, you want to really, really look at your sales script and run through it and filter it through the lens of the questions that I asked you today. Am I using outdated sales techniques? Am I using hypey, pushy language? Am I empathetic? Is that coming across with this script? Is this script performing for me in the way that I want it to perform? Is it empowering me as a facilitator of the sales conversation to invite my prospect in to purchase with me? or repelling them away. Because here's the thing is a bad sales conversation and a bad sales call is the most expensive thing in your business. Because if you got them from your organic content or you got them from your paid ads onto the call with you, that's a huge freaking win. Okay. Now we're not going to talk about sales and marketing gaps and all of that stuff. That's for another conversation, but we're focusing right now on the sales script and your trustworthiness in how well it produces and performs for your business and for your team. And I want to give you a hint. I want to tell you something, okay? Because even if you have a custom sales script that you have a sales manager in your company, or you hired a consultant to come in, if that script is pre-2021, 2022, it was written pre-pandemic, pre-2021, 2022, chances are it's outdated. And the reason is because buyer sensitivity is so incredibly high right now, okay? Think about all of the stress of the world, okay, and everything that people have been through and all of the intensity, all of that is bubbling up for people right now. While they love the doors opening up and people love going outside, the fears that they have carried in their mind and that were stirred up from the pandemic are still there. And then there's like all of the other uncertainties of the world, right? And depending on like what their exposure is and how much time they're spending with that stuff, like your level of sensitivity and your prospects level of sensitivity and your prospects heightened emotions and heightened state is going to come into the sales conversation. And if your script and your sales call and your reps aren't taking that into account, sales are going to be lost. Okay. So do an assessment, do an audit of the sales script. Okay. That is number one action. Number two, you want to go through your last sales calls, yours if you're doing CEO initiative sales, or your reps, and you want to listen to them through the filter of the questions I asked you today. Okay. And notice and also listen to the prospect's response, how they're showing up on the call, how they're engaging. Like, do they have a wall up? Is the conversation too logical? Do they really feel like they're being understood and seen and heard? And I have a story that I'm going to tell you after I finish the training here, but I want to tell you a story that I was remembering today from a couple years ago, and this is really relevant to this. So I'll come back to that. So stay tuned for the story. So the sales calls, you want to listen to the sales calls and how your reps or how you're coming across, how the person is being, how they're being perceived and received by the rep. Are they being understood, seen, felt, heard, acknowledged? Okay. And if you don't have any recordings, you want to get some recordings. You want to start recording your sales calls. And there are the, if you're doing your calls on Zoom, you obviously would just have the recording right from the beginning. If you're not doing the Zoom, you could just record it on your voice memo for your own personal use and then delete it later. That's neither here nor there, but you do want to have recordings of your sales calls so that you can review your performance. When I used to do mental toughness training with Mr. Tim Grover, who was Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant's athletic training. I can't really think of the word, but he was their athletic trainer. Thank you. And thank you, Celia. And he would talk about how Kobe would come home from a game and he would watch his tapes of his performance. If they lost or if they won, he would just sit and watch his tapes and watch his performance over and over again. So even with CEO-led initiatives or with your sales reps, you do want to be observing and evaluating their performance. Okay. And then the third thing, okay, so we've said sales script, reviewing that, sales calls. And then the third thing is your offer positioning. Okay. Your offer positioning, and your offer positioning is one of the most important key factors in your business, in your company, for what that high-end offer is that you're selling on the other side, because your offer positioning feeds your marketing. When you're doing marketing and you're putting lead magnets and challenges and all of the fun stuff that you put out there, that is a part of a customer journey that leads back to a high ticket offer. Now, if your company has more complex funnels going on, still all roads lead back to the high ticket offer at some point. Okay. So how the offer is positioned in its core in terms of what it does for the customer and the client and what they get on the other side and who they become and the results and all of that juicy goodness, it needs to be really clear, and it needs to be communicated in a way that is enticing, and people want to buy it, and they want to and purchase and get on board with it. And then what happens is your offer positioning then feeds into your sales calls, it feeds into your sales process, it feeds into all of these other things. So your sales system in your business is like an ecosystem that everything works together in delicate balance. And so that's why people have sales problems. When one thing gets off, it can create this whole other cascade of problems. And so what ends up happening is people start to try to fix this and this and this and this, and they're trying to fix all these areas because they don't really know where to hone in and zoom in on to get clear and to make those fixes and those changes that need to happen. So it's really simple. And you can, just by doing this, by really taking some time to even check in with yourself. I have a lot of intuitive people in my audience, and people that are, they just have a high level of self-awareness, and really just kind of like tuning in with your gut and your instinct around, what, this sales script, like I've been wanting to cut this part for a long time, or my sales calls, I've been really wanting to, start the call off differently, but I haven't been doing that because I've just gotten such a habitual pattern, or, I've really been wanting to change this about my offer, but I just haven't done it because it just seems like too much work. Okay. So all of these things, this is business development and this is sales development, and it needs to be a part of your business. And what happens is that entrepreneur CEOs, you're usually too busy to be doing all of this stuff because you are running the company, you're the face of the company, you're doing the marketing, you're doing all these things. And depending on your team and who you have on, if you're a CEO-led sales initiative, and even if you have one or two sales reps on the team, you're too busy to train your team, right? Maybe you've got one of the reps that's kind of like overseeing the other. But these are just some things to think about, that this deserves to be a part of your quarterly planning. This deserves to be a part of your weekly business development and assessment. And the great thing is that once it's done, you don't have to do it again. At least not for like 90 days, 6 months, etc. So it's not like I just put it on the shelf and it's done forever. And the reason being, this is the biggest thing, is that in an evolving marketplace with evolving buyers and changes, our sales process needs to reflect an understanding of where the market is, right? So it's like, if you think about that, that uncle or that aunt or that person in your family or in your life that's like, man, they are so out of touch with reality. Like they're over here and they are just not with the current times. And I feel like I can't talk to them. I can't open up to them. The moment I open my mouth, they're just like spewing their opinions down my throat. They're not listening to me. Is your sales process that way? Is your sales process like this, like opinionated thing that it's just not representing the heart and soul of your business? And you can be honest with yourself. You really can. And this is a sales problem that is so common, and it's so fixable, like so fixable. And really, we're talking about the heart and the core. This is a foundational piece. It's what I call a more money strategy in the more method. Because let's just say that you're having 10 sales calls a week. Okay. Even 10 sales calls a month, whatever your lead volume is. Okay. 10 sales calls a week. If you could get 1 extra sale a week, 2 extra sales, 3 extra sales, 4 extra sales per week, just by changing your sales script, just by shifting how you present the offer. Game changer, right? Like total game changer. So think about it. Think about that. Like it's such a simple shift. Now, if you've got bigger problems with your sales and marketing gaps, the sales conversation will help. But if you've got some problems with sales and marketing, that is a more sales with ease strategy. You have to come in and also address the sales and marketing gaps. But this is a great place to start, because even if you're doing whatever volume of sales conversations you're doing weekly, getting your close rate up is going to get more money in the business without even having to drive in more leads and more traffic. Okay. So those are some things for you to think about. So these are the 3 actions and that you can take to start fixing your sales problems with the more money method, more money from the more method. And if you want to have a conversation, if you are like, oh my gosh, Celia, you really opened up a lot for me, and I feel like this is too much to do on my own, I do have a complimentary call. It is a sales growth strategy call. And we get on the phone together on Zoom and we have a conversation about your sales and about your business. And I don't use high pressure anything. And we just get on a call and we have a conversation about your business. We look at what's going on and where are the needle movers that you can do. Because today I talked about one area, but there's actually 5 steps of the more method. So I actually look at your business through a whole lens and see like where could you really be primed for limitless growth in in the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months coming into, into 2023 and into 2024 and beyond. Okay. So you can book that call with me at moremethod.info, moremethod.info. And that is it for today. So I'd love to know what your takeaways were and what did anything shift for you in this call, in this live stream? Did the wheels start turning for you? I really want to know that, because I want to make sure that what I'm saying is coming across and that you're getting it and that you're receiving it. Because if not, I need to go back and audit my stuff, right? And make sure that I'm communicating clearly. So this is an ongoing dance with your business and with your sales. And once you get into the rhythm with it and you get into the cadence of it and you become masterful with it, like, whoa, I mean, the sky is the limit. And what I like to think about is if that you weren't focused on your sales problems, what would you be focusing on instead? Because when you get to the next level and the sales problems that you're dealing with are cleared up, what are you thinking about instead? You're probably thinking about maybe like a vacation that you're going to take or something you're going to do in your life, because usually when you have sales problems, they're like consuming. They pull you down and they pull you in and you're like, "Oh my gosh, like I can't do anything." And it can send you into like a fight or flight sometimes just from the stress, and your brain just gets all like, into a frenzy and whatever. And so like, who are you when your sales problems are cleared up that you're dealing with now? Like, what are you thinking about? And I want you to check in with that person. And with that person, have booked a call with Celia to get some support and get some clarity on what's going on and to relieve some of the stress. Would that version of you have done that and taken that step? Just something to check in with. Okay. So for now, I'm going to tune out and check out and leave you. And really exciting, my team and I are working on taking all of my live streams and putting them into a private podcast format. And we are setting it up right now. And then we are going to be putting them out into a private podcast, and we're going to roll it out as a free gift. And then I anticipate moving it into some sort of paid thing down the road. But initially, so stay tuned for that coming out. I've got one set that's got all of my launch and virtual event content that I have been delivering over the last few months. And that has been super fun. So that'll be available. And then also now we're going to have a separate one for fixing your sales problems and on this chapter that we are on together now. So until next time, this is Celia Faye Meisel, and I'll see you later. Bye.